Good morning, everybody. John Sfielke here for GAI Insights, bringing you the Gen AI news briefing, rating news, essential, important, or optional, putting thoughts in your head and time in your day. I am joined by Adam and Tim today. We got some interesting stuff all the way from new ways to stop harmful output in any language, all the way through an amazing array of technologies that Lenovo is putting together, putting intelligence pretty much everywhere, as far as I can tell. All right. Let's see. Let's get at the first first article here that let me go ahead and present. Okay, share screen. All right. Here we've got new models introduced by Mistral, and they're claiming them as the best edge models. So we've got Ministral 3 and 8 billion compared to some of the other small models from Gemma, Llama, and so forth. And you can see in terms of the different benchmarks, it's doing very well. And they are giving availability and pricing at 10 cents for a million tokens, 4 cents with the 3 billion model, 4 cents, and then you can also license them out. What do you think here, Adam?
I consider this optional news. It's great that Mistral continues to develop as we would expect, and it's an incremental improvement over Gemma and Llama, but not too much to write home about, in my opinion.
All right, Tim, are you in a similar spot? Can't hear you, Tim. You're on mute. There we go.
Yeah, even with my big mouth, it's hard to hear on mute. Okay. Yes, I pretty much agree. I think, again, the trend that we've been talking about forever of smaller models getting better. We're going to have, I think, another article about this. It's really interesting. And these are models that are incrementally better than the current small models. And again, Mistral, we know, has an interesting spot geographically because they're going to be preferred by a lot of European companies, I suspect. So more important for European companies, perhaps, but definitely incremental advance. So I'd rate it optional.
All right, we're going to hit an optional on that one. Sounds good. Here we got next article is about Heineken and their use of generative AI. As they say, there's nothing that's customer facing on this thing, but they're using it internally for a number of different things. The knowledge management, they've got this cute acronym of knowledge and insight management, KIM. They're also using it for brewing, and they're using it. They did some A/B testing, interestingly, on the comparison of creative with and without the technology by itself, people by themselves, then the combo one. So what do you think here, Tim?
I think this is another good article, as I like to say, to have in your back pocket, because this is a major brand, major company that is clearly doing production things with generative AI. So I think it's great from that perspective. I would probably rate it optional at this point, since we have lots of these, so it's not such a big deal anymore. We could. I was less impressed by a study they did, because how do you compare these things? You and I could probably have a long conversation about these kind of social studies of with the AI, without the AI, human versus machine. It reminds me of Mike Mulligan and the steam shovel to a certain extent, for those who remember that book from long ago in their childhood. Anyway, so I'd have to say, good article. If you're looking for use cases, definitely here's a good one for a high-profile company, but optional for the AI leader.
All right, we're heading for optional. I would agree with that. If this had more data or so forth, I might put it to important. What do you think, Adam? You okay with optional on this one?
Yeah, I want to be clear that basically all I took away from this article is that they're using a piece of software called Stravito that has Gen AI in it.
Right.
They put a lot of lipstick on the pig, but honestly, it doesn't seem like they're doing much yet.
It's a marketing piece not even par excellence, just a marketing piece. Yeah. Not a lot of detail.
All righty. So we are going optional on that one. Now let's head to the next one, which is a set of new function calling capabilities as brought to us by a company called Arch Function. So let me get our screen sharing going on here. So what does it bring to the table? It brings to this capability, allows developers, according to them, to build faster, more secure, generalized agents. The performance of this set of models is better than the large models in terms of dealing with function calling, if you will. And then they're saying that this is an incredibly important part of building out the agentic infrastructure. I actually gave this an optional. I think, we're early days. Yes, interesting, internal measures of, how functional it is. I mean, how capable it is, but, still early days. Although, people are predicting a very large agentic market by, 2030 or sooner. So I gave this particular, which feels more like a product announcement, this particular article optional. But what do you guys think?
I agree. Again, this is the other article I was referring to after the first article. Small models used in conjunction to speed up specific processes. So it could be really interesting. I mean, dramatic speed up, 10x over the larger models. So for device things where latency can be an issue, could be a real speed up. But as you said, this is fundamentally a product announcement, so we'll have to wait and see.
Adam, in the pregame, you had this as optional. Anything we're saying going to make you come off that?
No, just a little bone of contention I had. They talk about the throughput being a 12x improvement over GPT-4, but GPT-4 is a slow model. They're really cherry picking their data points to emphasize it. I do really like the concept of this sub 1 billion model that's sort of, playing that role as, I guess, the super agent or the parent to the child relationship. And it makes a lot of sense that just for the orchestration, you don't need all that inference. You don't need a big model taking on those tasks. And
right,
as Tim said, it's good to see the progress in the area, but it's just another player in an emerging space.
Yeah, I keep, harkening back to when operating systems were getting developed. I mean, we just see all this componentization of function as we discover what's needed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you have that with every significant platform. I was acutely involved with databases early in my career, and boy, I can remember to the day when Tuxedo came out, which changed the landscape completely. It's WebLogic BEA now, but at the time you couldn't scale any databases to compete with mainframes on the client, like Oracle was the main thing, because they just did things terribly at the infrastructure layer. And Tuxedo, like this, was sort of an intermediary that said, oh, I can handle all the connections and make it work a lot faster and a lot simpler and a lot cheaper. And all of a sudden, Oracle became the go-to database.
Yes, no, it's interesting. Michael Novak, is talking about, I think, remembering back to Tuxedo himself here. So well done. All righty. So we're giving this bad boy an optional. All right, let's go to the next article, which is Lenovo. Lenovo showcasing all kinds of new stuff here. Quite impressive in terms of the different, things they're doing. So here we start at the top. It's a pretty long product announcement. We start at the top of this thing. It's about having, more smarts in the devices for sure. AI agents, LLMs, local, right? Then they have this, they're talking about heterogeneous computing architectures, which Tim and I will recognize from our friend Alan Kay ages ago about, multi-processor, systems and the ability to just deliver all kinds of capability. Then this Copilot PC ThinkPad announced coming out in November, I believe, that Microsoft's going to be ready to support that. then we've got this little thing, kind of looks like whatchamacallit, competitor for the Echo, the Amazon devices and so forth. So we have smarts at the end here, and then just more about the development platform and so forth. So, Adam, what did you? Do we have you on this one? I think yes.
Yeah.
What did you think?
I mean, the sheer breadth of it might justify important, so that people realize that they're really showing up.
Yep.
But they're basically a late entry to many markets at this point, that are also quite crowded already. So if for example, you're an enterprise that's a Lenovo shop, absolutely you're going to want to be aware of this. But
sure.
I mean, Dell, HP, MSI, there are a lot of companies that are putting NPUs into their laptops now, and so again, it's one of these cases where probably the news would be if they weren't starting to compete in some of these markets. But you did illustrate, John, there's so much in this. It is a very deep article in terms of the breadth of offerings that they're bringing to market, and so I was on the fence for that reason.
Oh, I think I would give this the Paul Barney burger myself. I mean, it's a long article, but it's, there's 3 product announcements and a bunch of prototypes. And they're all product announcements and advertisements for Lenovo. And as Adam said, they're advertisements for a late entrance to the game. So for me, this was like, one more vendor using AI on every single thing that they do. They're going to have it on their bathrooms pretty soon, I'm sure. This is an AI bathroom.
Well, I think what's interesting is that it's a major Chinese manufacturer here. And I think it just highlights the geopolitical story. It's going to be interesting to see if we're going to want to use the Chinese models on local stuff. That's going to get all the things that played out with Huawei around the switches, and how the U.S. pushed against using Huawei switches. I think we're going to see again. TikTok, TikTok things to be very interesting. All right, I'm going to put this thing as optional. All right, next we've got the anyone can turn you into an AI chatbot, kind of scary looking thing here. So let's let me get that out of here. Okay. Sorry, it was a Wired magazine story. Let me go ahead and stop screen. Okay, let's present here. Share screen. We've got anyone can turn you into an AI chatbot. Kind of scary thing. Woman's murdered. This goes through with character AI. They've got fewer guardrails than some of the other folks. So, and this starts off with a very scary and kind of heart-wrenching story about this woman, Crescente, who was killed by her boyfriend in Austin. Texas and Florida, some of the most murderous states in the country, when she was just 18. And so then somebody creates a bot with his daughter that gets through character AI, and they can't figure out, who actually did it. And it's very hard to take down. There's something in here I thought was amazing, which is actually easier for celebrities and copyright to get things taken down in terms of fake characters than human beings, alive or dead. And so, that's, and obviously the cost for an individual to go chase this down is difficult. But character AI seems rather cavalier, in my opinion, about the response here. And I think that the author does put the blame in the right place here, which is Section 230 of the 1996 Communications Decency Act, which is, in my opinion, far too broad in terms of allowing the platforms to do what they want to do. So anyway, that's the article. And Tim, would you like to give an opine on this one?
Yeah, well, I think this is I would call this article optional again. I mean, maybe we could lean into important for the citizen review of it.
Yeah.
For those of us who are old enough to remember the Communications Decency Act, like most legislation, it got lobbied by very powerful interests, and that's what got Section 230 put into it. And I totally agree. It's a disaster. It's been a disaster since the day it was passed, because it allows these platforms to just run roughshod over everybody. And this is an example. The other thing, of course, that you pointed out is the law is very slow and reactive. It's not proactive. It'd be, what I'd love is, let's create some chatbots. What I'd really love is to talk to Thomas Jefferson and Ben Franklin and George Washington and James Madison about what to do about things like this, because they deliberately made slow government processes to make it hard to change things, which has some very beneficial aspects to it in helping our democracy. But one of the problems it has is when technology really moves fast like this, there's no legal basis for doing anything, because, as you point out, copyright has been around since literally the writing of the Constitution, and modern copyright in terms of intellectual property rights for at least 100 years. There's been a lot of time to develop law and precedent over how to handle these things worldwide. There's been 1-2 years to figure out what we do about personal privacy rights for things like this. So there aren't any. And as you said, character AI is like, well, we'll take it down in a week or so. Meanwhile, if you've got somebody, I think they gave an example of somebody being parodied and saying things that they would never say. So you're really besmirching people's reputations. And doing that for a week in a current environment is pretty dangerous. So from the citizenry perspective, a very important article about how do we manage these fast-moving technologies. From an AI leader's perspective, maybe, I'm not sure how it affects day-to-day stuff. Character AI may disappear for all we know. It's clearly had some trouble and lost some people and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go more for important. I think that this issue, both as a manager and certainly as an individual, I think you have to understand just how quickly this can happen to you, and how difficult it is to discipline it. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of this starting to happen for corporate leaders and so forth. A lot of disinformation.
Yeah. Well, we've got already the thing that's made headlines that still most people are not even aware of is the scam techniques, where
Sure.
The relative calls up the grandmother and says, "Oh my God, I'm in a Hungarian jail and I need $10,000 right away to get out."
Sure.
And it is, by mimicking their voice. And then there was the famous one of the $50 million or whatever it was in Singapore that they really got some business person to do, because they made a deep fake video with, again, similar kind of voice structures. So this is just going to get easier. So it's a complicated world.
Yeah. All right. Well, Michael Novak's talking about how, this notion of being able to do deepfakes is well known. He would consider it optional. Gulliver makes the other part of the argument, says, hey, look, this is important if you're teaching ethics in AI. Mike notes that, there's lots going on in terms of regulatory and fine work. So Mike's for adopting more implementation of the existing regulations. What do you think, Adam? I'm headed for important on this one.
I was optional, and I think I could support important now, between Michael's comments as well as what Tim had to say. I think it's important enough maybe to raise the visibility of it. For me, and maybe I've been around this a little too much, I was kind of like, well, yeah, of course.
Right.
I mean, with all the stuff we hear about deep fakes and everything we know about how easy it is to spoof people, this didn't seem like much news to me. But specifically, I know that character AI is probably the largest volume generative AI player in the market right now, which is significant. And so it does raise awareness about a pretty important topic. So I'm still on the fence, to be honest.
All right. I'm going to come down and important on this one.
Saving the no-hitter.
Saving the no-hitter. Yes, Nolan Ryan is safe. Okay. Now we've got the notion of multi-agent multilingual alignment prism, which I think is a pretty interesting and I think fair description of what we're talking about here. So here, what this provides for us is this new set of capabilities enables the sorry, I don't know why this is zoomed out. Here we go. If you look underneath at the actual article, what it does is it gives a set of gives a data set and a set of algorithms to help reduce harm across many languages. And without this, what they found is almost universally across languages, using their data set and their approach actually decreases harm across all languages that are relevant. So, and let's see, there's 8 languages in their data set, including Hindi and others. And so I thought, this is, important new progress. Cohere is, working at obviously a more global perspective, but I thought optional for our AI leader here. What do you folks think?
Yep, I agree. I think it is interesting work, and it needs to be vetted a little more and a little more widespread. This is Cohere, a commercial vendor, and I think you've pointed out many times, John, actually most of the really interesting research right now is being funded by industry, which is risky, right? They have different agendas, but this does look like interesting research. I'm sure Noam Chomsky would be happy to hear this, because it at least implicitly has an undertone that there is commonality amongst language, and it's something harder, more interesting than we sometimes give it credit for. So there's lots of cultural influence, but there's something native about the languages and the way that they're used that makes it possible to improve one language, improve all. So that was interesting, but that's a big leap from where they are. But it'd certainly be something worth studying. It'd be interesting to have more people doing this and seeing it done at some high-profile research institutions as opposed to a commercial institution, because this is helpful at the practical level. If they could really come up with a good set of multicultural, multilingual benchmarks, I think that'd be very helpful.
Neat. So got optional here, but important research. What do you think, Adam?
Yeah, that's fine by me. I agree.
All right. So here we have the big tote board. We've got almost all optionals. The only one is the character AI chatbot. So we can give you folks back a fair amount of time in the day here. And any announcements or anything, Tim or Adam? All right. Yeah, we continue to move along here, and we'll see you all tomorrow morning. And don't forget to subscribe and like if you are on YouTube or on LinkedIn. So thanks, everybody. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow.